Hello, Gloversville High School community. This is our time to talk to you about our reopening and answer some questions that you were able to provide us in a survey. My name is Rich DeMalley, and I'm the Gloversville High School principal.
And I'm Dennis By, the associate principal.
So we're going to talk about two major areas today, one being safety and the other being instruction. So the first part talks about how you will enter the building and some of the responsibilities you will have before entering to make sure that we are all safe and healthy. So, Mr. By.
Well, it's going to start with changing from a single point of entry to 4 points of entry. We're going to allow students to enter through the bus zone, through the G lobby, the A lobby, and the student parking lot. There will be monitors there with thermometers, and they'll be taking your temperature, I believe just a quick read on the forehead. And so that we make sure that no one's entering the building with at least a temperature. And if someone does come in with 100-degree temperature or higher, they're going to be designated to a room where no one else would be in that room awaiting someone to come pick them up from home.
Thank you. And just as Superintendent Holler had mentioned in the previous video, that we encourage you parents to make sure that you are testing your children prior to coming to school. And if they are symptomatic, please keep them home. And as Mr. By has just stated, 100 degrees will be the threshold. We do have a COVID-safe room that we will be keeping them where they will be picked up. And as Superintendent Halloran also said, they will not be able to re-enter the building until they are cleared by a physician and bring a physician's note to school. One of the other questions that was about safety was, how will we stay 6 feet apart and socially distanced? Mr. By.
Well, the requirement is 6 feet apart or have a mask on. So in your classrooms, the seats will be 6 feet apart from each other. Of course, in the hallways, that's in between classes. That's not going to be possible. So students will be required to wear masks anytime you're in a common area. When you're walking into the building, you must have a mask. If you do not have one from home, one will be provided to you. Anytime going to the restrooms or any time that you cannot be socially distanced 6 feet apart from someone else, you have to have that mask on. So in short, in class, you will be 6 feet apart. In the common areas where it may not be possible, you will be required to wear a mask.
And we want to thank our custodial staff, Mr. Snell and Mr. Gannon, and the rest of the staff for measuring seats in each room and supplying to make sure that there is 6 feet apart in each direction. And as Mr. By stated, during instruction, you will be able to take a mask off because you will be 6 feet apart from any other person in that room. But again, I want to reiterate, the common areas are defined as our hallways, our main office, the nurse, the guidance office, the cafeteria until you are seated, and we'll get into that later. But the key is, if you are 6 feet apart in any direction from any person, you'll be able to take off your mask, but masks will be required in transition and in any common area. And just please know that it is part of our health and safety procedures. That is a mandate, and without a mask, if there's a failure to comply, we will look to provide disciplinary action.
I might just piggyback on that if I might, because
Sure.
we talked about hallways there a lot, so it seems an appropriate time to tell you that the hallways are going to be designated one way. Hope to have a map out up on our website soon, but the hallways are going to be clearly marked with one-way signs, do not enter signs, the things that you see in the supermarkets. So there, like I said, there will be going up the second floor of the A lobby. You're only going to be allowed to go up and down there one way, and you'll be going down through the G lobby. So all halls will be clearly marked one way, and this would prevent people from passing each other, where we are much more likely to transmit the COVID if you did have it. Much more if we're all walking in the same direction, you're not going to be able to get any talking onto someone's back of the head at worst. So all hallways are going to be one way, and that's going to be another safety item we're implementing.
And we do thank our department chairs, and I truly thank Mr. Bai for going through that. We had several other renderings of one-way hallways that we wanted to, but we were able to get some teacher leaders involved in that process. And as Mr. Bai said, we'll be working with our communications director, Mr. Mustafa, who will be putting that up on the website for you to view before you start on day one. One thing I do want to add as well is that in our cafeterias, thank you again, Mr. Snell, we are able to put 100 people seated in our cafeteria 6 feet apart. But again, while you're waiting to get your lunch, there'll be little circular signs that says, stay this far away from the person in front of you, where people will be standing. And as Mr. Bai stated earlier, we are going to be looking to open our courtyards, open the front yard when weather permitting, which will be keeping people outside in the fresh air and take advantage of that opportunity. On those bad weather days, we are going to use our gymnasium because, as you know, and Mr. Bai will get into again, we're going to split the instruction in half. So out of these 775 students that we have total here at the high school, we're only going to have 380 per day, plus or minus. So, and we have 3 lunches. But any of you who can do some math, 3 lunches divided by 380 doesn't equal 300. Doesn't equal 380. So again, we'll have some gym space, we'll have some outdoor space, but we're going to keep you safe during that lunchtime.
That's right. We're going to let, I believe, seniors use courtyard as well as one of the options if it's nice out. And I had not mentioned that earlier, but I would just say the thought occurred to me. One of the parents on the question and answer actually put the comment, if we are going to bring them outside, I might suggest those that are prone to sunburn might keep some sunscreen in your locker and maybe even a sweater or a sweatshirt on those days in the fall where your teacher wants to bring you out and you're going to wish you had a sweater out there sometimes.
And I'm glad he mentioned seniors. Sorry, seniors, we are not going to be able to provide you with a senior privilege this year. We are not going to be able to let people come in the building as they please. We'll have to come in, you're going to have to stay and be released at 2:25. So we apologize for that inconvenience. I know that's something they look forward to, but with only half the people, and as Mr. Bai said, we're going to give you some freedoms to be in the courtyard and to do some outside things. Hopefully, it'll give you an equal amount of satisfaction. I think the next question, Mr. Bai, talks about, our cleaning schedule. So if you could talk about that, that'd be wonderful.
Sure, we've got a seating system in place and a cleaning schedule in place so that students are only going to sit at desks that have been disinfected. Aside from there'll be hand sanitizers in each room, of course, but the way the seating is going to be set up is such that they're going to be 6 feet apart. But when the students do transition out of the room, the new students coming into that room will be in a different set of seats. The custodians, other school personnel, including myself, I suspect, will be in the rooms disinfecting in between classes so that the next class can start on time. While I say that, I should also say that there will be times, students, that you're not used to in the high school, where you're going to remain in your class. And if you're in there for English 9, for instance, we know you also need Global 9, so it's entirely possible that you, in that instance, would stay in your seat and your teacher would come to you. We are trying to do that as much as possible. It's very hard the way scheduling is, as you might imagine. But that is an effort that we will be making, and again, it's going to minimize students in the hallways, minimize possibilities to transmit COVID, and just keep everybody a little bit safer.
And, I want to piggyback off of that and, provide many thank yous because this is not a isolated effort by myself and Mr. Bai. We've had many, many people here to help us, including our guidance staff, specifically Mrs. Autilio, who helped us coordinate what Mr. Bai just talked about. Let's get groups of students that remain in classes, one classroom for possibly 3 to 4 periods. I know that doesn't sound appealing, but please keep this in mind. In a normal school year, if we were to clean every classroom after you left, that would be 22 classrooms every 40 minutes. Now, please remember, we only have 2 custodians on staff during the day. We need to cut that number to about 5 to 10 classrooms max per 40 minutes. So that's why we're going to have groups of students staying in one room, possibly 2 periods, possibly 3 periods, possibly 4 periods. Your breaks will also be a little bit different than the bell schedule if you're going to be in there, in order for us to keep the hallways manageable, and again, to keep you safe, because that is the key. Mr. Byers also mentioned that, you know, we are going to encourage teachers to bring students out to the courtyards whenever possible for instruction as well. And we already talked about the one-way hallways. Is that correct?
Yep.
Or would you like to go further
Nope,
in that?
that's it. The only other safety I had him is to remind students and anyone who was around last year when we were fortunate enough to have our new water fountains installed, is the portion of the water fountains that you could put your hand on to get water out, that's going to be disconnected, I believe, or at least taped off. We don't want students touching the same things over and over again. So bring a water bottle. I gave away the 450 or so that we had donated to us by the services, and if I can get more, I will. But bring a water bottle to school with you, and it'll be, you know, at least that portion of the water fountain will be, the refillable portion will be working. So highly encouraged.
And I'm going to guarantee Mr. Bai is going to get some more water bottles. He's the reason why we have those refillable water fountains. And he also got 450 from last year, as he mentioned, and he's got a pretty good connection with our military, and it's a new school year, so I'm sure they're going to be ready for us as well.
I hope.
So let's get into a little bit of instruction. All right, we'll talk about instruction.
Sure.
So I'm going to start off with one of the questions that we had to answer was, you know, will students be sharing supplies? Well, I'm going to tell you this. We've been talking with our teacher leaders. I've been talking to some teachers, and I know they're making concerted efforts where they're creating lessons so that, hey, you know, here's our dragon group that comes in on Monday has to use this set, okay? And since they're going to be in that room 2 periods, they'll create that lesson so they use that set, and then maybe it's a different course, so that set does not have to be used until the next group comes in tomorrow. So without getting too confusing, our teachers are truly going to take advantage of the dragon group, the husky group split, the grouping of students to ensure that those supplies are not. But I also saw a question, where, can you bring in your own supplies? And at the high school level, of course you can bring your own supplies. You can bring in your own water, and you can bring in some supplies that you may need. One question was, could they bring in their own tissues and hand sanitizer? And of course, you are absolutely able to do that. Anything else there, Mr. Bai?
Well, I'd like to just back off and start with that split of students. And I'll state the obvious, that we have to split the students because putting them 6 feet apart, we're constricted by the space. So students are going to be divided into Huskies and Dragons. We're still working on exactly which students are going into which group, simply because it's very hard, and we're working hard at it, to keep as many family members in one group together as we can. So as you can imagine, we have students, brothers and sisters in elementary school, they might be at Park Terrace, they might be in Boulevard, middle school, and the parents have asked us via survey that overwhelmingly they would like their students grouped together. So that is holding up right now. We have to go through 700 and X number of students, their family members, and make sure that they're on the same team as much as possible with their elementary his siblings that I think have already been divided. Much easier for them to do their scheduling. So so that's it. So that's the divide of the students, the Huskies and Dragons, and why and how that's happening.
So let's make sure we get this one right this time.
Mm-hmm.
So the Dragons will be reporting Monday and Wednesday in person and working remotely Tuesday, Thursday, and every other Friday. The Huskies will come in on Tuesdays and Thursdays and be working remotely Mondays and Wednesdays and every other Friday. So am I correct in that?
That's correct.
Okay.
And that's what we're calling the hybrid model. So that you are in school at least 2 days a week, and then the next week you'd be 3 days a week, depending on how the Friday rotated. So those, I would say, when you are home, you're going to receive work from your teachers. If I'm in school if I'm in class in Dr. DeMalley's class on Monday, at the end of our instruction, I would expect to receive an assignment from him that I need to be working on for my 40-minute period tomorrow in that class. Teachers are still going to be available via emails, and I believe they'll have office hours established during their prep periods, or between 2:30 and 2:50. Those kinds of details will be forthcoming, but for the purposes of this video recording, just to let you know, your off days, there will be work assigned to you. You're going to be accountable for that work. Everything is being graded, and that's what you can expect for our remote instruction.
And, you know, I think I should say this, and I'm going to say it, because I think when you don't, we're going to try to build capacity, but to start off in September, okay? So if I report on Monday and Mr. Bai has to report on Tuesday, we are going to hear the same in-person lesson, okay? So just because he's not here on Monday doesn't mean he's missing out on anything. While he's in school on Tuesday, I will be working on something that enhances that lesson that he's getting on Tuesday. So teachers who are listening out there, it's essentially 2 lessons per week to start. We're hoping to build capacity where we can have continuous learning to start, even when the kids are working remote. But just to get our feet off the ground and moving forward, it's probably going to be 2 lessons per week, with Friday being a review, kind of catch up, and maybe even a little bit of assessment to start. So when you're not here, you won't be missing out on any important instruction, because I know some of our students really do worry about that. And we're going to make sure that you don't do that, at least, again, to start, because we really want to build capacity. And one more thing, for those of you in our concurrent enrollment courses, you are going to be doing some continuous learning, because that'll be the expectation of the college. So concurrent enrollment is your AP course, your SUPA courses, and any of those tech classes that are associated with RIT. So not to get too far in the weeds, I apologize, but I just want to try to cover some things.
Sure, those colleges, we still have to cover the curriculum for those colleges, which is a nice transition to what I wanted to talk about next, and that's attendance. You know, it's going to be common sense to you that teachers are not going to be able to get through their normal 180 days of curriculum. If they have to teach the same lesson to two groups, just by common sense, they're only going to get through 90 days of instruction. So it is going to be vital that you are here on the days you're supposed to be here, and vital that you do the work that you assigned when you are not here. Because your curriculum's already cut down pretty much, and you guys are, some students may be looking at this as vacation. Yeah, you don't have to come to school, but the fact is, school gives you a foundation of knowledge that you need in the future, or we wouldn't be doing it. So the things you're learning now in algebra this year, you need for Algebra 2 next year, where you're going to struggle. So again, for that fact alone, the fact that you're only getting maybe 60 to 70% of the normal curriculum, I can't emphasize it enough. Be here, especially on your every other days that you are assigned to be here in the building. New York State is requiring, as you know, New York State is requiring the schools to take attendance of the students that are home instruction as well. So we're working out the details of that, but no, it is not going to be the same as last March and April, I can tell you that.
And I agree with you, Mr. Bai. In every piece of guidance that we've received and read, attendance is in the forefront of every one of those messages, memos, anything that we read. So to piggyback off of what Mr. Bai is saying, even when you're in the remote days, You may be obligated to log on to your Google Classroom and submit something. You may be obligated to get into a teacher contact at some point throughout the day to make sure that you are in attendance. It's important that also, if you get an assignment on your in-person day, that you hand it in on the next day, because that could be your attendance for your remote day.
Correct.
But the important thing is you have to get used to doing schoolwork each and every day, because we do have to keep in the back of our minds, if we do have a spike in cases here in Fulton County, our Fulton County Department of Health could guide us to say, you need to go remote for a few days, you need to go remote for a week, and we have to be able to make those transitions very smoothly. So again, as Mr. Bai said, attendance is important, logging on is important each and every day.
Another great transition point that Dr. O'Malley just allowed for. Make sure your internet connection is solid. In some cases, there's too many devices trying to get on, and we heard it all in March, April, May, and June about the internet connections. We can help. I don't know what the number is, but we do have a number of hotspots that the district, I believe, has purchased, and you plug those in, and that is your own internet connection. So there is no excuse for not having an internet. Come and ask us for help. Let us know who you are, and you are going to need it on your off days, but particularly, like you said, we are planning for everything. Scheduling for this COVID is kind of like nailing Jello to a tree. Not really easy, so we got to try to think of everything we can to get the job done. And internet connection is going to be vital to whatever we do. So please let us know if that's an issue.
Thank you, and I agree. To stay on the topic of instruction, I want to answer just a couple more questions. The question came up about PE equipment. I was able to talk with our athletic director, Mr. DeMagistris, and just again, to get us started, we will not be using any PE equipment in our phys ed classes. They are going to be on a fitness-based platform with no equipment required. So the weight room will not be utilized. And again, you have to be 12 feet apart in that type of forum. So we are going to still run PE. We are going to run our music courses, and we are going to run our band courses. So we are going to do the best that we can to do that and make sure that you're getting that quality instruction. We talked about the refillable water bottles, and I think it's time. I'm looking at my notes. I think we're good with instruction, and I see on the last part of Mr. Bai's notes, we're going to talk about totally remote. So go ahead there, Mr. Bai, and let's talk about that.
Okay, well, it's last because there's not really a lot to talk about. The state did require that we inquire within the district interest in remote learning. We had a significant number of percentage-wise of parents who were interested in that. So we have to explore those possibilities. And every solution has 20 different problems, as you know, that comes with it. So just know that we are exploring deeply into it. I can tell students that I would just, again, as a way of comparing to last fall or the spring, one of the options that you might hear about is the Capital District BOCES is running their own program, and we may run something very similar right here. I believe their program is you're going to get assigned a regular schedule of classes, and they'll do the same thing. They'll make sure you've got a computer and a Wi-Fi, and at 8:05 you're logged into algebra, and at 8:46 you're logged into your science class, and at 9:18 you're logged into your whatever class. It is going to be a full 7-day or 7-hour day schedule of being online classes live. That's one option. And that is, I just can't emphasize it enough. I know this is bad, but I believe we're safe. And if I didn't, I wouldn't be coming to work. I've got a daughter with an issue. I'm an old man, but I believe it's safe, and I believe we're going to be safe to conduct business. So I'm looking forward to everybody coming back.
Me too, Mr. Bai, and I agree with you. And I'm going to agree with Superintendent Halloran and Assistant Superintendent Wager. Your best form of education will be in the hybrid model that we are offering. We have not decided as a district whether we are going to offer a remote option, but I can tell you in any of the instances that we're looking at, it will not be as rich and robust as it will be if you're here every other day. So, but I don't want to talk, I know I just talked out of one side of my mouth and now I'm going to talk out of the other. If we do have to go into a remote option, or if we are able to provide a full remote option with our hybrid, just as Mr. Bai said, there are going to be strict expectations and parameters as to what you're going to do. I can tell you one, that if you do pick a remote option, you will not be able to decide back and forth every month or every quarter. You will be in a remote option until the end of January, okay, which is the end of the first semester. That's one. And I'm not, and that may work for families, and that may be a good thing, but I'm just telling you my educational opinion and re-emphasizing what our administrators and Mr. Bai just said. The most rich and robust education option you can select, if we are able to, is our hybrid option. But I also want to tell you, we have not decided as a district if we are going to offer a remote option on this day, Monday, August 17th, as of yet. That could change on Tuesday, August 18th.
Change by 4 o'clock.
So I believe
Yeah, we've answered a lot of the questions, I think, at least as far as Gloversville High School is concerned.
Yep.
We would encourage you again, if there are still specific questions to our building, or even to the general district, we have, I think, another recording where we'll be answering your questions this coming Thursday, if I'm not correct.
I believe so.
If I'm not wrong.
At least by the end of this week, or at the very least 2 or 3 more of these before the start of the school year. But I encourage you to ask us questions. I encourage you to send them to us. I encourage you to go to the website. My email address is rdmalley@gesdk12.org, and you can send those there, or make sure that you're filling out the surveys. You can also call me direct on my direct line, which is 518-775-5712. Mr. Bai?
Of course, dbye@gesdk12.org, and 775-5711 will get you my line directly. So my parents, 9th graders, don't know yet, but I look forward to talking to all my parents all the time. So any questions at all, any problems, please give a call, please send an email.
Thank you guys for all your time. Thank you, Mr. Bai. Thank you, Mr. Mustafa.
Yes.
Have a great day, guys.
Bye-bye, everybody.